I guess that's not a very country girl thing to say. But it is what it is. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm afraid of bugs. You wanna come out? Honey! 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 Come on, honey! Honey! You wanna come out? Hey, honey! You're getting so big. You gonna help me in the garden? Alright, dude, let's get to work. I thought I would give a garden update since it's been a while. There's just been so many things going on. We've got so many projects. First thing that I'm actually going to do today is I have, right here, you can see I have my 2 tobacco plants. And some of the leaves, the bottom leaves are getting nice and yellow. And I think they're about perfect for picking and starting to cure and dry. So I'm going to pick those off. And I think I'll just keep picking them off until it's time to harvest the whole plant and dry it. And we'll see where that goes. My broccoli, which seemed to refuse to grow ahead of broccoli, by the time that it actually was growing like a teeny tiny little head, it was already starting to flower. But I'm just fine with those going to seed because I want to save seed anyway. And I can just try again to grow broccoli when it's cooler. A lot of the corn is looking really good, nice and tall. This corn in these first 2 rows here, we have green beans growing along these. Honestly, I probably should have harvested some of these green beans earlier. There are certain areas of the garden where things just do like really poor. You can see it, like especially if you get like a bird's eye view of the garden. It's very interesting, and I think it's really going to help us to maybe focus our soil building efforts in the worst sections of the garden. Now in this area here, it has really done the worst. We're definitely going to get some tomatoes and peppers out of it. This is going to be one of the areas that we really focus on rebuilding the soil. In this row right here, I think you can probably see, that is our amaranth, and it grew really spotty too. And you can see how, like, in this one area here, there's these really tall amaranth plants, but most of it is like these really, really short ones. The tallest amaranth is actually starting to put out its seed heads. Beans are doing pretty good. Patchy. It's like, you know, different growth in different areas. The Amish paste tomatoes that are growing all along this row, pretty much all the way down. Most of those are looking really good. There are some, especially down here at this section of the garden, are kind of lagging behind, but they still have some tomatoes on them. Here is a really good example of what I'm talking about, where you have like these areas that just stuff doesn't grow right or really at all. Like you can see like kind of like this empty like corridor or row, whatever you want to call it, right in here, that there's kind of stuff trying to grow there, but it's not. Move on down here. So you can see this is all corn over here. I actually counted these a while back, and I don't remember how many there is. Some of these should have been thinned, but it is what it is. It's okay. I probably need to start checking some of these kidneys and pintos because some of them are starting to get a little bit close to needing to be picked. We're just going to let all of these dry on the plants. Down here, this is the farthest side of the garden. This is where our tomatoes and a lot of other stuff has grown exceptionally well, at least compared to the rest of the garden. Now, for all of our tomatoes, I didn't do any pruning or trimming or whatever. I didn't do any of that. I just honestly didn't have time. They're kind of like, it just got like all over the place, but I'm okay with that. In the past, we actually have just grown tomatoes without cages or staking or anything, just letting them grow kind of on the ground, and they did fine. However, we did, have probably more tomatoes that got, eaten or destroyed by laying on the soil that way. But it worked. I mean, in a pinch, yeah, it could be done. Our melons were one of the best things in the garden until recently. So the melons have just all of a sudden started wilting, especially these ones here at the top. And it just spread from like, it started at like one plant and then seemed like it spread to the other plants. So I don't know if this is some kind of like disease or whatever. So if you know what causes melons to just suddenly wilt and die, please leave it in the comments, because I can't seem to find anything definitive about how to prevent this. So our little peanut patches here, and there's a hawk right there. Anyway, so our little peanut patch right here is growing pretty good. I'm still interested to see how that's going to work with it actually getting the little peanuts in the ground. We'll see. The onions, not really working out too well. But that's okay. That's okay. We did get a couple onions. The walking onions are looking pretty good, but I just think this soil is just not ideal for growing some onions. This is my first time trying to grow tobacco, but from what I understand, you want these leaves to be turning yellow on the plant. Like, you don't want these like dark green leaves. And I'm just going to start by picking off the bottom leaves at like the stem, and then I'm going to hang those to cure those. And I'm just kind of pinching the leaf off really close to the stem. And I mean, these are really sticky. Yeah, I might need to go put on gloves. I got gloves this time. Take this guy. So now I'm going to work on getting some of this weeded here where these tomato rows are really close together. It's also kind of close to these peppers over here. I just want to knock it back a little bit. I have like this bug phobia for the most part. It's just, ugh. I guess that's not a very country girl thing to say. But it is what it is. And I'm not ashamed of that. I'm afraid of bugs. Alright, so that's done. And you can actually walk through here now if you wanted to. I just wanted to be able to inspect these tomatoes better. I think it's going to help a whole lot. Cleaned up these peppers over here. Couldn't really tell what was going on there. So I'm just going to go through these are green beans that I planted here. And I just kind of threw them here. One of those things where is, oh, I've got a spot. I'm going to throw some beans here. Just kind of letting them run across the ground. A lot of them are really big and not going to be very tender, so I'll let those go to seed.